do you think it's the fear of nuclear is it a misconception between nuclear weapons and nuclear power
Yes.
that has created the setback?
I think there's two things. There's the fear of weapons. There's also the fear of accidents. But if you look at the, most famous U.S. accident, 3 Mile Island, no one actually died from 3 Mile Island, from radiation exposure, from anything else.
What happened there?
So good question. So 3 Mile Island was a famous meltdown that happened in the U.S. in Pennsylvania. And so there were two reactors on 3 Mile Island, an island of land in a river, and a series of operator mistakes caused one of them to have a meltdown. And what that means is the fuel overheated. There was, some issues caused by that, and then potentially some. The fear of a meltdown is that you get some radiation leakage, but you have containment vessels that contain all these things, and that's where a lot of the cost from nuclear comes from, is making sure that in no circumstance can any radioactive material ever release from the facility. And so 3 Mile Island, one of the reactors shut down, partial meltdown, due to human error, series of human error that, due to process controls, would not occur today. But even so, this thing that people view as this crazy disaster, and I think it happened right after a movie came out called The China Syndrome, which was about a nuclear meltdown. So this movie came out, and right after this accident happened, and just drove the U.S. into a state of fear about nuclear that lasted decades. And so fast forward to today, one of those reactors is still out of commission, but the other one, Microsoft is planning to turn back on to power AI.
No kidding.
So they renamed 3 Mile Island to Crane Energy Center, I believe. And so one of those reactors is going to come back. So this thing that people really worry about, they cite 3 Mile Island, they cite accidents. Hey, nuclear can't be safe. Nuclear is extremely safe. It's the safest form of baseload. And even the worst accident in the U.S. history, which was caused by human error that would not occur today and can't occur with the more advanced reactors, even that one resulted in zero deaths. And so by not building nuclear, we instead did lots of other stuff. We did coal, natural gas, wind, solar, all of those things we need, but none of them are as safe as nuclear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think any of the setbacks are, big oil and gas industry? And I mean,
I don't blame them. I think the fossil fuels industry, oil and gas, have been doing what they're on their mission. Let's have U.S. energy independence. Let's, pull from the natural gas reserves we have. Natural gas being half the carbon output of other types of fossil fuels. And so, that's been a big part of how the U.S. actually reduced its carbon emissions the last few years was natural gas. So I think those companies are just laser focused on what they're trying to do. I think the fact that nuclear has not become bigger is a U.S. policy decision, and it's the nuclear industry maybe not pushing hard enough for progress, really defending themselves, because there's a lot of great people in nuclear who have believed in nuclear for decades and diligently worked away at it, and it should be much bigger than it is.
can you help the audience understand how much we could advance? Talk about how important energy is in everyday society, and especially with the AI boom happening right now, and all the data centers that we need, and how much power that's going to consume. I mean, can you go into that a little bit on how important this actually is?
Yeah, just to set the stage overall. If we just talk about the U.S., U.S. has 94 reactors operating, produce 97 gigawatts, call it 100 gigawatts of electricity. And that's roughly 18.5% of our grid energy production. In terms of how big this could be, I think total, call it 5x that for the overall grid average production. And then total installed production capacity in the U.S. is like 1,250 gigawatts. So a lot of that's not operating all the time. That's like peaker plants. It might be wind, solar. Not everything is baseload. And then just to calibrate internationally, US and China neck and neck in 2010 on production capacity on the grid. Since then, China doubled. By the end of the decade, it'll triple. So you can double and triple the grid if you want to. They've done a lot of that through nuclear, but much more with coal. And so other countries are expanding, and they're doing it not in the cleanest way. So us doing it with nuclear, us doing it with other things, you know, it displaces manufacturing that might happen there with a cleaner source of energy here. So geopolitically, if you think about us versus China, people are worried about conflicts of all types: AI conflict, kinetic conflict, economic. All three of those come back to energy. So if you want to have the US be in the lead on AI, manufacturing, or economic influence, you need to have the most energy. It's directly linked to GDP. As a company, we believe in high energy societies that consume and use effectively a lot of energy. And if you look at all the countries on Earth, there's not a single country that is low energy and high GDP. So
He sent us a graph, energy consumption versus income per capita in 2022. I'll overlay that on the screen, but it shows high income, low energy countries don't exist.
yeah, if you want poor countries to get the standard of living that we have, it's going to take more energy. So that's, we can look at the global lens, and that's simply the reality. If you want everyone to have a good quality of life, be able to heat and cool their homes, have refrigeration, have all the things we have, it's going to take a lot more energy, and there's no way around it. One of the big
Oh, is this India? Do they produce more energy than us as well?
per capita, no. Let's see. Where's India on here? Yeah, per capita, no, but overall, yes. India, China, huge production and consumption.
I mean, on top of that, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of innovators, a lot of tech innovators, which you said Dino Mavrukas, who's founder of Saronic. Been talking to a lot of AI types, Alex Wang, had Sham Sankar in, I mean, they're all talking about how much energy that we need, in the race to AI. And so, I mean, I've heard of these mini reactors that people are starting to build. Are they using those yet? Is that legal?
Not yet. They're not using them yet. In terms of the AI demand, if you just project out AI demand, it's going to be equal to our grid by 2030. It's just this exponential growth curve. And those are always hard to predict, but reasonable predictions say it needs as much as we have on the entire grid by 2030, which means we have to start right now expanding production of reactors, of fuel. And so to your question, are they using them yet? No, not yet. There's a lot of companies designing and now building and will be testing advanced reactor types. And I expect we should start seeing those plug into the grid in about 5 years. And so we need to do that now. If it's 5 years out, okay, AI is going to consume equivalent to the US grid today in 5 years, potentially.
That's crazy.
We need to go full speed on reactor licensing, construction, deployment, and all those reactors need fuel.